This is my week 12 homework assignment for Game Design 2. Here's NPC 1.
Thank you, Unreal Man.
Unreal Man?
Because, you were building in Unreal.
Oh yeah.
Absolute cinema.
Absolute cinema.
Okay, so you're recording? You are recording. Like right now, it's capturing audio. Okay, I guess we're done.
It does have to be at least somewhat funny though.
Oh yeah. Are you still recording?
And that's NPC 2. And then I have my data table. I don't know if how I'm recording it is going to let this show up on screen though. But here it is in Unreal. How it works. So, when we can play, we create the widget. Oh, this is for setting up the NPC portraits. Or not setting up the NPC portraits, but for setting up the starting lines. So we create the widget, we make that a variable. Next, we set the starting line index to the next line index. What this does is so I can say the starting line index is 7. So then on my dialog table, it's going to start from 7, which is the end of the line. So that it knows, so I can change NPC to NPC what things of dialogue are going to be saying. Then we have an is valid. What this does is it checks if we've changed the NPC portrait. So like here, nothing's been changed, so it just stays the same. But here, since we did change the NPC portrait, it changes in the gameplay. Then we have it so when the player overlaps with the collision for the NPC, it casts to the third person character, it makes it a variable, it adds the NPC dialog widget to the viewport, it sets the variable in the player's blueprint for what the NPC is, and then and then we call next line. What next line does is we get data table row names, and we just go through them and we iterate until we end the dialogue based on the condition that, so every time next line is called, we check if the next line index is greater than the last index. So basically it checks if you've gone through all the lines, and if you have, then we call end dialogue. I think actually this is outdated and we changed how this worked in class. Instead, we check for if the dialogue is end of line, and if it is end of line, then that means we end the dialogue. But so we go through the data table and we just iterate through it. This is a little bit messy because I do not have a mouse, so I do this on my laptop. That's why I'm scrolling through by selecting. But so, for each row we find, we check if it says end of line. It doesn't. We set the sound to the audio component and we play the audio component. And the audio component is going to update based on what the voiced line is in the data table whenever we change it. Then we set the text in the widget to, well, we get the NPC dialog widget, we get the text block, and we set the text in the text block to whatever's in the string from the data table. Then I did this before we did it in class, so it is not, it's very unpretty and not the way it should be. But so what I did is I did a branch for, it checks in the data table who the out row speaker is. It checks if you're the NPC, and if it's true, it sets the justification to the left, and then we do our next line index. And then I also, in the user widget, I made some image animations, just of bobbing up and down. So then it iterates and it plays the animation. So, and with the way I did this, there are duplicates. I fixed in class. And I think that's everything. Unless I'm forgetting something. But I don't think I am. So that's all.